Okay. This over here. Good afternoon, motherfuckers. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to run the intro just like normal. We're going to fire this motherfucker up. Let's see if I can find these intros and do it the right way this time. Somebody remind me to turn this fucking microphone back on, please. Someone, just say, hey, is the microphone on? Okay. I love this intro.
What the fuck is going on?
Chris Q. Mark Johnson, responsible for all the beats you hear on the Bull-NA-ChinaShop podcast. Shout out to Chris Q. Mark Johnson. Christina, Cameron, how are you? Oh, I got a good guest today. Today, the original Bully people. I hope I can add them. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to add them or not. Let's be honest. I don't know how to run this. Yo! You beautiful motherfuckers. Episode 81 of the Bull-NA-ChinaShop podcast. This week, we will have the original Bully clothing company, Dwight and Amy, will be joining me in just a few minutes. But first, Chase Miller, you beautiful son of a bitch, how are you? Don't tell me to keep calm. That's the coffee for the day, okay? Okay, upcoming events. Is this microphone on? I think it is. I think we're cooking with bacon grease right now. Upcoming events, January 27th, ABKC Super Bowl 4. I will be judging. This is a True Phase event. Georgia National Fairgrounds, Perry, Georgia, at the Heritage Hall building. Any questions about that show? Any questions about January 27th in Perry? Contact Rolando Mata. February 3rd, I'll be emceeing, also doing a live podcast, photo shoots, and video shoots from the ABKC UK Back to the Future event, UK Bully Fest 4. UK's #1 bull breed event 4 years in a row. That one's hosted by Sean Main. Contact Sean Main for any booking questions, address questions. That's at the Sutton Leisure Center. I believe that's Liverpool, England. Could be a different town close to Liverpool. Contact Sean Main for any questions. March 25th, I will be judging Bangkok, Thailand. ABKC Art of Bully Show. Contact Apina. Now again, if you listen to Saturday, Sweet Life Saturday, I have no idea how to pronounce her last name. That one's going to be in Bangkok, Thailand, March 25th at the MCC Hall on the fourth floor. June 2nd, I'll be emceeing, also doing a live podcast, photo, and video shoots from the Magic Bully Canada ABKC show number 2. I judged the first ever show, Montreal, Canada, last year. Beautiful place up there. Love Montreal, love Quebec. Hotel Dulac Carling in Grenville. That's in Grenville, Canada. Contact Matthew Kwan with any questions for that one. Euro Nationals this year is going to be in Scotland. I'm not sure if I'll be emceeing that one or judging that just yet. We haven't locked that all the way in yet, but I will be there 100%. Contact William Byrne or Sean Main for questions about that also. Australia in August. Some other stuff coming up. It's going to be a busy motherfucking year, people. I hope you're strapped in. I hope you're ready. Now, let's get into what we've got to talk about today. Let's see if we can add the original bully people and bring them on. Now, I don't know if it's going to let me from this page. I don't think it's going to. Okay. It's not going to let me. Well, now I can't even get it to go back to the regular screen here. I am technology illiterate, so if someone could help me out, that'd be fantastic. I'm not sure how to get this off of there. Okay, we might actually have to pause this so I can connect with the original Bully clothing company here. Boy, Facebook should have thought this one out, I think. Of course, just can't. Let's see here. Okay, let's see if that'll do it. Of course. So listen, Dwight, Amy, if you guys are watching, try to jump on that. See if you can request to be added. I'm just going to drink my coffee and talk some shit until then. I do want to say, if you haven't yet, go ahead and hit subscribe on iTunes to this podcast. If you go on iTunes and search Bull-NA-ChinaShop podcast, it'll come up. Just type in Bull-NA. It'll be like the first one that comes up. Feel free to subscribe on there, download the newest episodes, and leave me a rating, please. The amount of downloads is not as important as the interaction and feedback I get from all of you. So, what we're going to try to do here now, Original Bully is tagged in this post. I'm not sure why it won't let me add them. Hey, Denny, if someone could help me out with this live, that'd be fantastic. I'm sure it should be fine once we get Original Bully in here, but getting him in here is the challenge. Oh, you know what I should have done? I should have added his personal page. That's what we should do, actually. That's what we should do. You know what, guys? I'm gonna. Oh, hang on. We've got requests to. Oh, there we go. Here it is. Okay, so Dwight's gonna jump in here. I'm adding Dwight right now. He'll be here, I promise. It actually says adding on my screen. It's flashing. It's blinking. Something's gonna happen. We're gonna make something happen. There we go.
Hey,
how are you, sir?
doing well.
Okay, so I'd like to introduce everybody on the Bull-NA-ChinaShop podcast to Mr. Dwight. Now, listen, I didn't know. We tried to set this up last weekend. I was supposed to be in Portland. We tried to set this up. We were going to do this one in person. It's been a while since we've seen each other. I think when we met, anyway, the Portland thing didn't work out. But I think we met at Frankie Bakersfield ABKC show. Am I correct in that, or did we meet at the Oregon show first?
No, it was a lights out show in Bakersfield. That's correct. Shout out to Frankie and Donna, Bako Bullies.
Shout out to Frankie and Donna. Actually, I haven't seen Frankie maybe since that show. I don't think I've made it back to Bakersfield since that show. Now, what I want to do before we get too far into this, I just want to make sure my sound's good. So just go ahead, introduce yourself and the company. I would do it, but I don't want to say anybody's name because I've been saying Original Bully Clothing Company, and I know online everything's Original Bully, so I don't know how you guys have that exactly. But just introduce yourself. Let me check the sound here.
You got it. So we're Original Bully Clothing Company, and we pretty much did it that way because we're the face of the company, but the brand is more about the brand than us, the actual people. And I do believe there are a lot of people that even thought Frankie and Donna from Bako Bullies were the owners of Original Bully at some point. But either way, let me do a little self-promotion first. You can follow us on social media, all your regular social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, if you want to get technical. But Original Bully or OG Bully, go follow us if you don't already. As you know, we amassed a pretty huge social media following, and I guess that's relative and subjective. Big is whatever. But obviously with a lot of people, you get usually a lot of good and a lot of bad from that. And so far, I think we've been pretty fortunate with the amount of people that we have supporting us that it's mostly positive. And I think that speaks to why we started the brand in the first place, was because we felt that there was like a pretty big void in just apparel or anything bully related, like any bully brand. Like we just felt that there wasn't anything that represented our personal taste, if you will, I guess, or just how we felt dogs should be represented, because it was either we felt things fell into like one of two categories, basically, right? You had your super aggressive MMA style, like I don't even know if there's any brands that had that, or if it was just MMA brands or tattoo brands picking up on that kind of lifestyle. Or you had on the opposite end of the spectrum, you had either nonprofit or rescue people selling super corny t-shirts that you know, you buy, support them and raise money for them and stuff. But honestly, like maybe you wear it during one fundraiser event, if that, or you wear it on laundry day or something like that, right? So you're not really out there like sporting it because it's cool, you know what I mean? So I actually
seen a t-shirt. I don't even remember the brand or what company what it was, but all it said was Pity Mom on it, and it had like a generic kind of a American Pit Bull Terrier head with, I think it was like tie-dyed almost, like a tie-dyed American Pit Bull Terrier, just a generic silhouette, and it said Pity Mom on it. And I'm like, well, the originality coming out of some of these motherfuckers is like a zero, bordering on just stealing some other people's shit and designs that they don't, it's not even a design. They just
you're preaching to the choir, because obviously the fact is that we've beyond Original Bully, if you know anything about me personally, which a lot of people don't because I'm not out there promoting myself or anything like that, I do have a design and brand marketing firm that I've been doing for a long time. Samurai Styles, I've been doing it for 10, maybe 11 plus years now. But I
didn't even know that. I didn't even know that was you.
Well, I know you've seen some of the stuff that I've done, because
for sure.
Like basically, it goes back to, I'll say it kind of really got started with Rudy from Motown Bullies. If you remember Savage,
right?
Sacramento, I think that's where or Modesto, I think. But he asked me way back in the day after seeing some of my designs on, it was either one of the MSN boards, the Elite Edge board, or Gaudy Line, or something like that, or the Gray Line board, perhaps. You know, so I've been around bullies before they were bullies, right? These were UKC pit bulls. So
right, and I think that's something a lot of people don't know. Also, not just the samurai styles and stuff, but original bully Dwight, Amy. You guys have been around, you know, a decade, more than a decade, as far as American bullies go. Back before it was even American bullies, like you're saying. So I think that's another thing a lot of people don't understand is, like, this is not a new company. It's not something that just sprung up overnight. I mean, it's original bully been doing this for a minute.
Yeah. So, you know, I think I want to say the first dog that I had, I got him. He was I got him from Blue Honor Kennels from where are they located? Torrance in California. I got a dog from him way back in the day, like 2003, I want to say. And it was back when I had time to dedicate to a dog. I was, you know, still going to college a little bit. And, you know, I had the room for a dog at the place I was living. And it's the one time I was like, oh, I might show him. I don't know. I was thinking about showing a dog. Breeding really wasn't something that I was interested in, but I wanted a paper dog. So that's where I started. And from there, I just, you know, I like dogs. I started adopting dogs, and I bought more dogs, and I don't know. I like the breed, and you know, it's something that you
got bit by the bug, man. Everybody gets bit by the bug.
That's what I know is that I get. So we talked about it a little bit before, but you get two sides of this, right? So you have basically a world that's divided into two things, right? You have the breeder side, and then you have the rescue side, and they're diametrically opposed here, and I don't really understand it a lot of times, because for me, I never bred dogs or anything like that, but I never saw a reason to oppose breeders so heavily as they are. Conversely, I see a lot of stuff in the breeding world that is very disappointing, and
to us too, man. To us too.
No, and that's why I'm saying, like, I understand that there are lots of people that whether people are going to agree with what I say, there are people that breed responsibly and that do it ethically. There's not a lot. I'll give you that, but there are a lot of people that don't get the credit that they deserve. So whatever you want to say about breeders, or whatever you want to say about the rescue world, I don't care. I don't discriminate against anybody, because I feel everybody represents these dogs, whether you like it or not. And if you discriminate against one side or you discriminate against the other, you're not going to get your message across, right? Like, you're already saying, well, only this side is good, so only support this side. Well, things don't work that way, and obviously in this country, things don't work that way. So we have to work together. So I'm Switzerland. I'll sit in the middle, and I'll do what I can, because we do have a responsibility with the following that we have to do something positive. Whether, I mean, personally, like, people think Original Bully is this massive company. It's me and it's Amy. Like, yes, we've hired models and stuff like that. So we've created part-time jobs, but there's no real full-time job here. And we don't even take a paycheck from this job. Like, we literally do this. This is not our job. This is something that has just totally taken over, like, our life. And it's something that's really cool. And we're just trying to, like, do what we can with it to do something positive. So we can advocate for dogs. I volunteer at the shelter. Like, I do fundraisers for people. I use my contacts, resources to try and help other dogs get adopted. We'll talk about that later, because that's something that I really want to talk about, and something.
You've got a good story about that. I want to step back a little bit. Just like you were saying with the people expect it to be a black and white situation, and you pick one side or the other. Just like with politics or with anything else, people get divided. They feel a sense of tribalism with people who think the same way they do, and they all stick together, even if they agree with some of the things. Say if you're a breeder, if you're on the breeder side of things, and you hear somebody that deals with rescues and volunteers at shelters, even if you agree with some things that they say, because they're advocating for rescues and shelters, the breeders don't want to listen or have anything to do with it. And I think that the same thing goes for people who are really into rescue and adoption, don't want to have the conversation with the breeders. And I feel like the only way we're going to be able to educate breeders to get everybody on the same page and educate rescues and shelters to get everybody on the same page is having that conversation. You know, we've seen breeders contribute to the shelters. I've actually did a podcast episode about certain organizations within the rescue world importing hundreds of thousands of animals into the country to be able to be pushed through this propaganda and adopted and rescued. And because of that, people think I'm anti-adoption or anti-rescue. It couldn't be farther from the truth. We have to have these kind of conversations of people from kind of both sides of the fence to really show people like you can think both ways. You can breed dogs and still want people who only want a pet to go find one that needs saving and rescue that thing, but from an organization who has some ethics behind it. And that was another reason why I wanted to have you on, because you are involved with a bunch of organizations that are ethical, that are really taking dogs off the street and putting them back in better hands. And I couldn't support that more. It's just, for me, it's the organizations that are importing these, you know, Celine Dion singing a fucking song and everybody wants to donate their money. But in reality, a lot of those animals are coming in from outside the country. And that's something that we've talked about before, but I think we got to have a conversation on both sides of it.
No, here's the deal. I question those motives also. I'm a big animal rights person. I love animals, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to like say these dogs matter and these dogs don't matter. However, I do feel that there are resources wasted on things like that. Like, that's inefficient. Like, just as a business person, you look at that model, it's noble. That's what it is. But
right.
Is it really helping in the grand scheme of things? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Like, yes, saving a life, that's awesome. However, maybe for all the resources spent on that could be spent on 100 more animals already here that could just get simple stuff that is like
right. Just like feeding our homeless people before we send money to other countries that aren't even attached to us to feed their homeless people. Let's take care of the shit here. Let's get these dogs off the street here, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's the other thing too, though, is that, so a lot of people say that breeders are adding to shelters. However, some of that is true. However, when you really look at shelters, how many of the dogs there are purebred? I volunteer at a shelter, and yes, purebred dogs definitely come into the shelter. However, a lot of times they're surrendered. They're not necessarily breeders. They're just people that either don't want to take care of their dog. They didn't know how much of a responsibility it was going to be. And that goes for lots of different breeds, not just bully breeds, but
right.
There are times when you will get a bully or power breed that people just, they had no idea. I had no idea. And how that happens, this all comes back to like basically advocating for more education, more education towards responsible ownership. That's really what this needs to be about, responsible ownership. Once we can basically convey what that means in a more general sense on a very basic level so that everyone, especially children, can understand, I think it will cut down on a lot of the abandoned or surrendered dogs that sometimes are unfixed because people never took it to the vet and never got them spayed or neutered. And, you know, while...
Do you think some of it is because the breeder that sold him that dog was just trying to make that money and didn't really tell him, like didn't really give him the expectation, sold him a pipe dream kind of?
You know as well as I know that happens all the time.
Every day.
I don't know that that's the biggest cause But that pipe dream, that it's basically, it's not a pyramid scheme, because there's some of that happens in that world too. But there's definitely a pipe dream that's sold that basically it makes people think they're going to line their pockets. But once they actually get involved in breeding and trying to be ethical, if that's what they truly want to be, if you actually start looking down the line at what you need to do to be responsible, at the very least, not even an ethical breeder, just the basic needs for a responsible breeder, the vet care alone. If you can afford that prior to the money you think you're going to get selling a litter, whatever someone told you, you can't think like that. Like, this isn't something to play around. This is not a game. These are dogs. And whether you look at them as pets or you look at them as stock, that's none of my business. I don't care how you look at them. Just treat them with respect. The very bare minimum of respect of a living being, because that's what they are. And I agree. I don't agree with a lot of farming practices, but I still eat meat and I still buy meat at the store. I try to buy responsibly, but whatever, man. Like,
even vegetables.
I can advocate for the better treatment of animals. That's what I try to do. So, well,
and one thing I like the fact that you actually volunteer at a shelter and see some of the stuff that comes through there, because you just know that there are people doing some real shady shit out there. And I think you can't put that on every breeder, because there's going to be shitty people in every aspect of life, right? If you're part of a carpenters union, there's going to be one asshole in that union, I promise. You know what I mean? There's going to be one guy that just doesn't do it up to code, and he cuts corners, and he's a scumbag. If anywhere. So I think the biggest thing is educating breeders, educating buyers, and like you said, even children. I went on a big rant last week about a guy who was trying to trade a dog in. And I'm like, it's not a fucking used car lot, man. You're talking about a living animal. I'm a dog breeder. I'm a dog man. Probably some of the fur moms out there wouldn't agree with everything I do either, but you're not trading in a Toyota Corolla. It's alive. You know what I mean? That's a being. So I'm on the same page. At least some respect. At least have some respect for the animals, and just build from there. At least start with some respect, though.
Well, I can say personally, I know breeders. So I see a lot of times where rescue and nonprofit organizations will say specifically that breeders don't do anything or breeders don't contribute. However, I know plenty of breeders that, even beyond having a litter, that's in the contract. It's in their contract that if the people can no longer choose to care for or no longer can care for the animal, that the breeder should be the first one to take the animal back and get first rights to getting the animal back, because they don't want the animal going just anywhere or being surrendered to a shelter. They actually
definitely not a shelter. That's the last place we want our stuff going, is the shelter. Exactly. We'll find a good home. This is what I do. I'm a matchmaker. I match people with dogs. So if you have a problem with your stuff, please bring it back to me. Please I'll gladly take anything like that, just because. Because you see it. I don't know. Is the shelter that you work for a no-kill shelter?
Yes.
I'm assuming.
That's the beauty of it, right? So no-kill obviously is kind of a misnomer. However,
right.
It is very much used as a marketing tool. Absolutely, it's a big marketing. When people say no kilter, I knew this going into it. It doesn't really bother me. I don't really care. So, but I do like the fact that when people ask if it's a no-kill shelter, I can say yes, because at the very least, if there's no real reason for your dog to be euthanized, it will not be euthanized, and it will sit there until it is adopted, or whatever, because I'll say this. So there have been at the shelter that I volunteer at my local shelter. It's West Columbia Gorge Humane Society. It's just down the road from my house. So I volunteer there. I do doggy tuck-ins Wednesday night with a lady that I volunteer with. And we basically just like feed the dogs, change their water, change their bedding, let them out before they go to bed at night, clean up after them, let them play in the yard for a few minutes, get some exercise, stuff like that. Now, it's one of these things where there have been dogs that at the shelter specifically that sat there for a ridiculously long amount of time, which is good because you're giving the dog a chance. However, it's an interesting topic to walk along because it's one of those things. Again, are you using resources in the best way? Is this dog really being marketed properly? Is there any psychological damage being done to this animal for being confined almost in solitary confinement?
Right. That's what I was going to say is like the last place we want them to go is a shelter, because even if it's a no-kill shelter, leaving a dog in a 4x4 box. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's people all over the country that have I call them crate farms, where they just have 4 or 5 crates, 20 deep stacked up, and that's their setup,
Sure.
And being in a shelter, I kind of think is the same way, especially the influx of dogs that come in there, the new faces, the aggressive ones, the super scared ones. So there's got to be some kind of psychological effect, maybe not damage, but an effect on the dog for sure. And well, just 1 second. And if it goes to an actual kill shelter, the animal doesn't have a chance. As soon as it hits the door, it's got you got a time limit, you got an expiration date, and it doesn't have a chance. So just to finish up what I was saying, that's the last place, even if it's a no-kill shelter, that's the last place we want to see him go. I'd rather have the chance myself to find a good family, like a forever family home, or even if it's a single person, just a forever home that's going to be socialized. And it's, to me, part of you guys going in there is definitely socialization. I mean, that's definitely got to help. That's got to be a big positive in the dogs' lives for sure.
Well, and that's it too, though, is like you said it, like, the wrong dog that you have, and especially if it's a dog that, maybe, so let's put it this way. There are certain breeds that are not for everybody. Let's just put it that way.
For sure.
So
for sure, that's putting it mildly.
Right? So these breeds are not for everybody. And sometimes when those dogs are put in a situation where they're scared, maybe they do something out of the ordinary, out of fear. And a lot of times, like you said, if they're in the wrong situation, like a kill shelter, these people are like, I don't even want to deal with that dog. So boom, straight, there you go, boom, done. There's no recourse, done. So
have you ever seen anything like that? Have you ever been volunteered at a place like that?
No, and I've heard enough about it, and I see enough people network stuff around that is like, especially down in like Central and Southern California. I've seen some nasty stuff from people just posting that stuff. And
in Denver, out here in the I think about 6 or 7 years ago, there was like 3,800 dogs confiscated and euthanized, and they just showed big like pictures of tractor trailer, like Connex boxes full of bodies. And dude, that I'm pretty callous. I mean, in my opinion, I'm pretty callous to most things, but that shit kills me, man. Just seeing a trailer full of, 3 days before that, they were family pets. You know what I mean? That was somebody's family member.
At the end of the day, we all love dogs, regardless of breed, right? So no one wants to see anything like that. So it is, that kind of stuff is kind of scary. And you know what I mean? Like, I feel like people putting the dogs in the wrong situation is really what leads to these kind of situations, because
for sure.
These dogs put in the wrong hands, people will misjudge them. That's how it goes. It's how it's been. It's how it's going to be. That's just how it is. So we need to make sure, and especially I feel this is one area where I can talk to breeders all day long and they'll always agree with me. Everyone can say, absolutely, you're 100% right. Hey, put these dogs in the hands of people that know what they're doing. Like you said, no one wants to put these dogs in the hands of someone that's just going to be like, wash my hands, take it to the shelter, done. No one wants their dogs on that list. So,
but what are most of the people saying that? What are they doing to prevent that from happening? You know, like I hear a lot of people talk, but what are you actually doing to prevent that shit from happening?
So here's one. Again, this is a topic that we can kind of talk about, right? Is as a breeder, someone that's in the breeding community, as the community of breeders, who is kind of like, who do you look to organize as the community? Like, whether it be one registry or another doesn't really matter. But within those communities, because that's really who we can talk about, is organized registries, all of them. Let's talk about all of them. Who do you look to as leaders in those communities to organize something of more of a standard where you're like, how do you let these people over here do this? And how is this, because this dog is like, you can't do this. This is unacceptable. And at what point, this is one of my questions at bully shows that has always been, is like, well, so they'll just let any dog enter. And as a judge, I'm sure, you know, that you could say yourself as a judge, like, why did you even let this dog in the ring? Like, why?
Right.
Is that true? Can you back me up on that?
I say the shit every time I'm in the ring. But that's what the show ring, that's what confirmation shows are for, is to separate the stuff that shouldn't be bred from the stuff that should be bred. The problem is, if I tell a guy your dog shouldn't be bred, I'm a fucking asshole, and he's going to breed his dog anyway. That's the problem.
So let me proposition
you
this. So I kind of feel like this could all be prevented at registration before they even get in the ring. Like, if there's a dog that's so far out of standard that you're just kind of like, you should have someone that's not a judge, that like maybe the show, like whoever's doing registration, the show host or whatever the person's title is that is in charge of registration, should be there looking at the dogs and being like, oh, no.
Well,
no.
And I agree with that in a perfect world. The problem is we don't live on that perfect world. You know what I mean? So to have a person sitting there, it would almost have to be another judge that wasn't judging that day, because if I'm bringing my dog to a show, and hopefully my dog wouldn't be one of the ones that they were trying to ask to be removed, but if I was bringing my dog to a show and somebody that wasn't a judge, no offense to any of the reps or the hosts or anything, but if somebody that wasn't a judge tried to tell me I couldn't enter the show, I'm going to ask them who the fuck are you to tell me my dog can't go in the show? That's why I came to see the judge. But I see both sides of it. In a perfect world, I would love to have somebody standing there weighing dogs, measuring dogs, and letting them know, hey, you shouldn't be in the ring. You can't come in here. But it's just that would be tough. That would be tough to pull off, you know?
So I can agree with that, because I see it happen. I've seen it happen where it's like, I agree with you, where it's like it's a tight line to walk, because you're like, well, I don't want to scare him off, but at the same time, you know what I mean? Who am I? But at the same time, really, this is really what will legitimize the breed, if that's what you're looking to do, I feel. Because if you're really wanting to have the best representation there, that's what you should have. And it's nice that people want to show up, but I can guarantee you, people that have terrible dogs in other bigger, more notable organizations around the world, whether it be UKC, AKC, whatever, you're not bringing a terrible dog to a show there. I'm sorry. It's not happening. It shouldn't be allowed to happen anywhere else.
Do you think that is more community policing or registry policing?
No, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, which people are going to stand up and be like, no, we need to self-police because no one else is going to do it. The registries are not going to do it. You know why? Because here's why. The more dogs that get bred and born and registered, more money in their pocket. That's how it works.
That's literally part of the business model, you know?
So,
no, it is. So I think it's going to take, like you're saying, I think it's going to take more of a community stance. Like, people are going to have more of a firm community stance. And this is one of the reasons why I'm so, you know, people think I'm a dickhead in the ring, you know? Like, people think I'm a hard ass in the ring, but this is why I take it so seriously, because that's my fucking, first of all, it's my, you're paying me for an opinion. First of all, nobody's really paying you much, but you're paying for an opinion. I've been hired to give my opinion, and my opinion's based on what should be bred in the future and what shouldn't be bred in the future. So the dogs that I choose and the explanations that I give to the people coming in the ring, it may not also, but it may have a huge effect on whether they breed that dog or who they breed that dog to, or how they go about trying to improve what they've got going on. And if it's something where I'm recommending that they not breed the dog, it's not because I don't like you or I don't like your dog. I want my breed to be successful. I want American bullies, or I love all bull breeds, you know? So whether it's Frenchies or English bulldogs or bull terriers, I love all that shit. I just want to see those breeds be successful. And I'm also representing myself. Every choice I make is a reflection on me, you know? So
you're putting your name all over it. So it is
right. And until we get that community policing, it really comes down to the judge in the ring making that hard decision to tell somebody or explain to somebody why they're not worthy of being bred, or at least worthy of being ribboned, you know, rewarded. So I agree, dude. I think it's going to have to come from the community. It's going to have to be people that step up at shows and be like, hey, man, you shouldn't even waste your time taking that dog in there.
Yeah. No, I think at some point there are, you know, obviously there's cliques and groups in the community. And I think that there's definitely people that are like the upper echelon of what are considered breeders. And those are the people that really just need to, I mean, you can't, first of all, you shouldn't be selling that dream. Just stop that. That's dumb. That's old and it's predatory.
And it's now more than ever, it's a coin flip, whether you're, you know, it's a gamble. You know, the odds now are stacked against you more than ever of being successful in that, you know?
Yep. No, and I think it really is just going to come down to the people that are considered the leaders or the mentors of the community to really, really show people how to like not take it personally, but also how to put your foot down and be like, yeah, I took a chance on this one, didn't work out. Next, because that's really, I mean, what it comes down to is you're not going to be perfect all the time. You're not going to be successful all the time. And if you're not really in it for the long haul, like the long-term goal, that's all you can be in it for. And if you're not breeding for that, then you shouldn't be breeding.
So what about, just for argument's sake, what about the person that bought, you know, they bought that dog, totally intentional on giving that dog a forever home. This is going to be my dog, my pet, my companion. And that dog, they also have the goal of earning a title on that dog, and then they bring it in the ring, and someone and multiple judges tell them, hey, this isn't show quality. What about that person? You know, what approach would you suggest? You know, because you're kind of stuck in if you only have room for one dog and you've committed life to this dog, and that, you know, your goal was to put it in the ring, that puts you in a spot. I mean, maybe you didn't have the education to choose a quality dog in the beginning, but what do you do now?
Well, I kind of feel that also comes down to the breeder's responsibility in this sense. It's not fully their responsibility, but I really do feel like, you know, you gotta, as a breeder, make that distinction early on. Like, does your buyer, do they really want to compete? If so, be honest with them. Tell them that this is not for them. This is not the dog for them. And if you want something like that, maybe consider something else. But I feel like that's something that can easily be overcome by the breeder before the dog's ever sold. So I think that's a pretty...
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, and just to take it a step further, sometimes puppies grow the way you didn't expect them to grow and things happen. So if you do get put in that situation, then you're going to be faced with a decision to say, or let's say you already purchased this dog, it's a year old, you're getting into showing it, and you find out it's not show quality, but you're committed, or you were planning on being committed for life. You're at a decision, you're kind of at a crossroads to say, well, do I find a new home for this, a new forever home for this animal and try to pursue the title, or do I just love my dog, come to shows and enjoy the show and accept the fact that he's not going to have a title when he passes? You know, that's a decision. I think everybody's got room for two dogs. This is my thing. Everybody, if you got room for one, you could add a second one. They need a pal anyway, but that's a tough spot to be in. I mean, I agree. It comes down to the breeder selling that dream, you know, oh, this is going to be the one. And they're just trying to get rid of that last pick and make the light bill money, you know?
Yep. No, it's ultimately, again, it comes down to the breeder, but you know, a lot of times they don't have good mentors either. And I feel that's really what I'm coming back to is it's like, well, who's going to do it? Who's going to like show people how to do this properly? Because I don't feel like anyone's doing that. It seems like almost like everyone wants a monopoly or wants to have no competition because they're afraid of competition. And well, isn't that what really breeds success though? Like having people push you to your absolute limits, right?
Not in America anymore. Dwight, this is 2018. Everybody gets a participation ribbon. You don't have to be the best. You get a ribbon anyway. This is 2018, man.
Don't get me started.
No, let's now you showed me a couple of pictures before the podcast, and I wanted you to save the meat of that for the podcast. You showed me some pictures of a puppy who clearly has a bad case of rickets, clearly wasn't taken care of when it was a puppy, and kind of grew into it. I actually will have to. I'm going to post the pictures in the comments section on this podcast post, and also I'll put it in the YouTube video for the show, the pictures of the puppy. But just to give people an idea, you know, pocket-sized dog, bully in the head. It would be a nice, really nice dog if it didn't have that condition, or if that condition was handled when it was supposed to be, when the dog came down with it. Tell me the story behind that. I don't even remember the dog's name if you told me.
Sure. So this puppy's name was Arnie, and he happened to come to the shelter that I volunteer at. And when he came there, of course, he came with a lot of mystery. No one really said much. Hold on a second. My phone is dying here, so let me plug it in really quickly.
Hey, that's already happened to me once on the podcast. I had to shut this thing down 15 minutes early twice already because my shit was about to die.
All right, there we go. So basically, Arnie came in with not a lot of information, and he was obviously a little bit disfigured, right? So that was pretty plain as day. And it obviously impacted how he moved around. Now, I spent a lot of time with this dog. Like, I spent a lot of the time in the yard with him. I've spent time in his kennel with him. I've spent a lot of time just, you know, feeding him treats and BSing with him, right? And never once has this dog, of course, I'm no behaviorist. I'm no doctor. I'm no expert. I've just had these dogs for you know, going on 13, 14 years now. So I kind of feel like I can read body language of most dogs. I feel pretty comfortable doing that. I know when a dog doesn't like something.
Yeah,
And
13
Arnie,
years is a pretty good, that's a pretty good time span to figure it out, right?
So Arnie, though, in the amount of time that I spent with him, he was a pretty, I mean, he's a pretty good dog, pretty awesome, super friendly. And you can see from some of the pictures, like he didn't seem to have an aggressive bone in his body. So at some point, though, apparently someone deemed him exhibiting some aggressive behavior, or what they described as aggressive behavior. And I couldn't really see it happening, but for, you know, giving people the benefit of the doubt, because they say that's what happened, I'll go along with it. But, you know, it's one of these things where I'm like, well, was it really aggressive? Because I wasn't there, so I don't really know. You know what I mean? Like, I can't say one thing or another because I wasn't there. But like I said, I spent time with the dog, a lot of time with the dog. And in all of my interaction with him, you know, I fed this dog. You know what I mean? Like, I've been in the kennel with this dog, like in his space while he's eating, no problem. No,
Right.
It's not a problem. So
Now,
to me, he was.
before you get too deep, who was it that deemed the dog aggressive?
So that's a good question.
Because, you know, certain dogs, you know, there's a dog might be really good with you, but he was abused by a woman his whole life. So a woman comes in and he's aggressive with her. Was it somebody that knows what the fuck they're talking about? Or was it just somebody that walked in off the street and said, oh, that dog looks aggressive? You know, what was the situation?
So that's a really good question, because I'm not 100% on who it was that made that determination. Someone told me in a meeting potentially who it was, and they're a certified trainer. They have legit credibility. However, I was also described the situation that happened to make that determination. I don't necessarily think the dog was set up to succeed. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of feel like potentially he was maybe put in a situation that wasn't the best, and that they weren't going to get the best result out of. Because I don't agree with, obviously I don't agree with the assessment, because I feel like any of that probably could have been avoided. And to put him in a situation where he fails, I don't like.
And was it a one-time? Was it a one-time thing? They put him in there one time and he didn't do well, and then they made the assessment after?
So this was one assessment, and then there was, I think there were multiple, like there was one assessment made when, so initially the assessment came as a result of him doing a meet and greet, I believe, with a family. And again, I wasn't there, so I don't really know what happened. I just have to go on what people tell me. And I you know, I like facts. I like dealing in facts. I don't like dealing in wishy-washy hearsay. So what I know from what consistent stories that I have heard was that he was brought into a room for a meet and greet, and the person meeting him, I don't know if it was a man or woman or whatever, or a family, or I don't know. But one person was on the floor meeting him on his level, which I already don't kind of agree with that kind of introduction.
Person or child? Adult or a child?
I'm pretty sure it was an adult. I don't know if it was a man or a woman. That I don't know. I don't remember.
But anytime you meet a dog for the first time, face to face is not the way you want to do it, for sure.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not a behaviorist. I'm not a trainer. I'm not an expert, but that's not what I would do. So I can't agree.
I'm not meeting any dogs in the ring and trying to give them a kiss. I promise. You know what I mean? Yeah. Not because I think any of them are aggressive, but it's just not how dogs. You know.
I gotta say this. I gotta get this off my chest really quick, because I feel that same kind of pain sometimes, where I like to advocate for all bully breeds, specifically pit bulls, American bullies. However, there are people in this world that make it extremely difficult to do that. And there are people that they're on both sides of both stereotypes, whether it be those people that are like, yeah, I'm a big, tough, yeah, this is my badass dog. Or you have, this is my fur baby. These are for everybody. Right? This is the world we live in. Those people make it really difficult because these dogs are not for everybody. They're not. Pit bulls are not for everybody. I'm saying it. They're great dogs, but they're not for everybody. Don't make them out to be these dogs that they're not. Don't make them out to be.
A German Shepherd is not for everybody. Like I agree 100%.
You can meet 100 pit bulls, right? And all 100 are going to cuddle you, right? But it's that one dog that they don't cuddle. The one time you're out at the dog park when you're on your phone or drinking your coffee and your dog goes for another dog, or like a little dog that snaps at it. And so it's like, oh, snap at me. You know what I mean? Like all it takes is one time and you messed it up.
They were bred to kill stuff. I mean, not people, but let's be honest. They were bred Staffy bulls, American Pit Bull Terriers, Amstaffs, Bull Terriers. All that stuff comes from the same place, and it was bred and created to kill shit. You know what I mean? Not people, obviously not people, but the prey drive. That's something people need to be aware of and responsible for sure, for sure.
Absolutely, it can be managed. Absolutely,
for sure.
Again, if you're not a good owner, they're not for you.
And it's going to reflect bad on the whole breed. See, people don't understand whether you're using your dog as an extension of your dick, like the big tough guys, which is America. We don't want that. We don't want that. Or if you're on the other side where I've got a pit bull and it loves everything, so it would never harm a fly. 99 times out of 10, if you have a pit bull and it has a chance to kill some prey, it's going to fucking try to kill that prey. Just how it works. That's what they're bred and built to do.
It's true.
You know, or if you take a German Shepherd, German Shepherds aren't for everyone either. And they're actually, to me, a little more dangerous because it's people with them. It's not really prey with them. They're, kind of built to protect people or work with people. So even like German Shepherds or Malinois or some of these protection breeds, you can manage prey aggression or prey drive. You can manage dog aggression. Just try to keep them away from the dog's faces. But managing a human aggressive dog, that's a whole different challenge. But I agree 100%. Pit bulls are not for everybody on this planet, especially if you're not experienced and educated with that breed. I agree 100%.
Well, and I feel, and that's part of the problem I feel with social media too, is that, it propels a lot of people, and it's good and bad, right? Like, so all of this, it's a double-edged sword. It can go either way, where people do good, people do bad with it. And this is like, realistically, this is why we exist as a brand, and why, we didn't expect for our brand to achieve this kind of like following and support or anything like that. But when we have something like that, like, wow, now all of a sudden it's thrust upon us. What do we do with it? So it's why we try to advocate as best as we can. And again, like I said, we're not any experts on any behavior. We're not like super pit bull fanatics where we've grown up with them for like, 30 years and I've been breeding them for 40 years and anything like that. That's not true either. Like, I decided to get one because I saw a beautiful dog one day, and it happened to be 13 years ago. And I fell in love with my first dog that was technically the early beginnings of what is now the American Bully. But even then, even then I still face discrimination because I bought a blue pit bull. Oh my God. So all these pit bull breeders at the UKC show are like, oh, I bet you have skin issues, right? Like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so.
No, I don't. No, I don't have skin issues. I have no, I never seen a blue dog with skin issues until I got a couple of tries, and then I seen a couple of dogs with skin issues. I literally have never seen a blue dog that had. I shouldn't say that. Okay, I seen one blue dog that I own personally. Oh, I shouldn't say seen. Owned one blue dog out of. I don't even want to tell you the number in the past 10 years, but let's say 1 out of 100 had a skin problem. So no, ma'am, I don't have skin issues. Thank you.
So you can see the discrimination is there, whether it's well-founded or not.
So going back to the puppy with rickets though. So they introduced the dog to the family. It was like a meet and greet situation. What happened at the introduction?
So what I'm told, he was excited to be introduced, and he tried to jump on the person, and in doing so, the person pushed him off because they didn't I guess they didn't want to be jumped on. Fair enough, right? But maybe pushing a disabled dog probably could have been better. Maybe it's just a snap reflex or reaction. Whatever. I'm not going to judge. Like I said, I wasn't there. I don't know how it was done. But judging from the people that were there that explained to me what happened, potentially it was kind of hard. Maybe that caused Arnie to not be fearful, or I don't know exactly what happened, but he got up, and I'm not sure if he barked or growled or what it was, but he wasn't happy. And so I don't know who made the judgment in this case, but whoever was handling this was like, no, this is not happening. And then that was that. And so I don't know their qualifications again.
Right.
So it's hard. Right. But again, the whole situation surrounding him, I was told he was unadoptable, and that I was told all these things, and it's just, I don't agree. I can't agree. And I feel like I tried to use our resources and use our network, and we have people literally that deal with more disabled and harder case behavior dogs that can take these dogs and actually do something positive with them, rather than just let them sit and rot in quarantine.
Right.
And I don't make something happen, and it just doesn't have to be like this. You know what I mean? And I kind of feel like I was shut down and not allowed to help. And that's kind of frustrating when an organization that's a no-kill organization really tries to use that for marketing. And then I'm like, hey, you know what? My reach is bigger than yours, but here's the deal: is that I want to use this to help, especially this dog that I know is not that dog that you described. That's not him. And if you put him in the right hands, then it's not a problem. Just put him in the right hands. It's a simple fix. And
there's there's a million different things that could be going on. Most of the time you don't know the full background of these dogs coming into these shelters. Sure. So most of the time you have.
So truth be told, this came out after I think his first incident. So someone found out after the fact that he had come from the other shelter with a bite history of he nipped somebody. So that was okay. So first of all, that wasn't disclosed, and had that been disclosed, maybe the meet and greet would have been handled differently. I don't know. Right. I kind of feel I'm almost glad it wasn't disclosed, in the sense that I hate non-transparency. When there's not full disclosure, that really bothers me, especially in a nonprofit organization. It bothers me because they're meant to be transparent. But without him, with him coming with no incidents, that gave me the opportunity. He had no real history at all, and he seemed nice, and he was dog selective, not dog aggressive. So that meant that he could be around some other dogs. And he seemed super friendly, and he was super friendly, at least to me and Amy. And he was super nice to the lady I volunteer with, Hilda, and her granddaughter. And I just didn't see it. I couldn't see what they were talking about. Like, I'd never seen it, and I'd spent many hours with this dog. And,
my phone's about to die too, dude. Jesus Christ. We're plugging it in. You're good. You're good.
It's frustrating to me that I'm trying to do something with my network, and I'm just kind of not. I'm being met with resistance rather than like, oh yeah, this is great. You should. Yeah, we can't do anything, so let's do something. Like, anything's better than nothing. Gosh, like.
You'd think so. It seemed like, but what were they concerned about? Like liability on their part? I don't understand.
I believe that's really what it came down to, and so.
Which I could see that, but if it's a nonprofit organization,
yeah.
you have liability coverage. So really, but at the same time, I can understand like their whole goal is to not ever send an aggressive dog out. But is that under the guise of the no, like you're saying, like the no kill is kind of a selling point and something they use to promote their shelter so they get more donations and stuff like that? It just doesn't. How could it be a helpful thing to not even try to find a forever home for that dog other than any option? You know, you should. My opinion. I don't work in shelter, so my opinion, we should be trying to exhaust every option. So if you've got 300,000 people seeing your network every day, why wouldn't you try to find, or even maybe a trainer or an expert or something comes out and says, hey, we've dealt with this before. This is the situation you're looking at. Maybe we could try this and that. I just doesn't make any sense to me.
So I'll tell you this. I had a professional trainer from Seattle. They train some of the Seattle area police dogs. They were willing to come do a legit evaluation for me as a favor if I could get a rescue to come take him. I had a rescue from Northern California. I had NorCal Bully Breed Rescue ready to send someone up to come drive him down. I had everything required before they euthanized him, and I was not given the opportunity to help. And that is extremely frustrating.
It's crazy.
Because he didn't even, okay, so he ended up being quarantined eventually after the meet and greet. That was kind of like one warning. Now, he was on watch after that, and there was a vet that came after hours unsupervised and administered shots to him without a muzzle on, and he bit her. Now, that's just plain stupidity because A, she should have been supervised, and B, had she been supervised. Go ahead.
It's probably against protocol, my guess, but go ahead.
Absolutely protocol. And this is why protocol was not followed, and this is why the dog was failed by people in at least 3 steps because A, unsupervised. Had the vet been supervised? Oh, no, you need to be supervised, and so you need to put that muzzle on the dog. There's one place of failure. 2, even though the vet was unsupervised, the vet could have put the muzzle on. There's 3 steps of failure, or 2 steps of failure there. So now he bites and he's unmuzzled and bites the vet, and now he has to be quarantined. There's the 3rd step of failure. Had protocol been followed, all 3 of those could have been avoided easily. And those shots, and I don't know, again, I wasn't there. I don't know what the shots were, but I guarantee you those shots probably could have waited another 12 hours. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, unless it was an antibiotic shot that was on a schedule. Most antibiotic shots are 5 to 7 days, though.
He did have a skin problem also, and maybe that's what it was for, and maybe it was necessary. But again,
we can't. Avoided. Yeah, we
avoided.
Can't.
Didn't have to add on top of the problem. This is simple protocol stuff, though. Like you said, it's simple stuff that if you just follow guidelines and protocol, it doesn't happen. It doesn't have to happen, but it happens still. It's done.
See, but this is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you, because you have a not just with the clothing stuff. I mean, I think actually how we kind of got to talking about the podcast, I bought a couple of shirts from the website, and you guys were nice enough to put a little thank you note in the package, which that I think that guy kind of got the conversation started about being on the podcast. But just the clothing stuff aside, you're involved in a side of the lifestyle, because this is all a dog, a bull breed, American Bully lifestyle. You're involved in a side of it that a lot of people that watch, a lot of us, I say us meaning the Bull-NA-ChinaShop clan army, because we're 197,000 followers on that Bull-NA-ChinaShop TV page. There's a lot of people that see this shit. Most of them are involved in the showing or breeding aspect of it. You're actually kind of in the trenches dealing with, dogs that are cast aside, like this dog this dog you're talking about with rickets as a puppy, and he kind of got passed around to shelters and stuff. I feel like anytime dogs grow up in that environment, there's got to be a mental impact, like I was saying earlier. Maybe not damage, maybe not mentally damaged, but there's an impact. Anytime you put a person in a solitary confinement for 3 weeks, they go crazy. You put a dog in a small box by himself without letting him out, they start going crazy. And I think they definitely develop behavioral problems because of it. It's a sad thing, especially when, you're at a meet and greet, somebody manhandles the crippled dog, and now he's got a huge, check against him because he doesn't like being manhandled. To me, I would almost have a problem with that dog if he didn't have a problem being thrown around like that. Like, I don't know. It's a tricky situation, but I think it's definitely a unique perspective you have, because you get to see the sales pitches and you get to see the propaganda that gets put out there by the shelters. Not saying that your shelter that you volunteer for, but you get a different view of the rescue and shelter world than we do, because we're obviously on the breeder show side of stuff. You just have a different perspective of that whole world than we do.
Well, and I think that's the interesting thing, though, is that I think people immediately associate shelters as nonprofits and as like they're doing a good thing. They're not all good. I'm sorry. Not all nonprofits are good. Not all people should be running nonprofits. That's the case. I'm not trying to be negative, but I've witnessed a lot of people taking advantage of the nonprofit world. It's why we select very specific organizations to support, because it's our name too. And when we give, so it's one of the reasons we like to be a for-profit business. We like to be able to make our own decisions. I don't want to have to, play by some of the rules of being a nonprofit. So what I can do as a for-profit business is donate a portion of my sales to nonprofit entities that also help dogs in need, whether it be bully breeds. I try to focus on bully breeds, but you can't always help just bully breeds. I kind of feel like you can't just discriminate against other breeds either. But definitely we really like to support other brands or nonprofits that focus on bully breeds, obviously. But again, it's just like you really have to sort through a lot of organizations to get to ones that are really, really transparent and worth what they say they are. But that's fine though. It's fine. Yeah. It's why we vet them for our customers, so they don't have to, because hopefully people rely on our reputation to be like, hey, these people are good people, or these, for example, we list like hotels that are pet friendly that doesn't matter what breed you have. Go on our website and check it out, ogbully.com. We have partner brands that we're like, hey, these people are bully friendly, check them out. And a lot of them, hotels like the Kimpton brand hotels, they're a great organization. And we've even stayed with our dogs, both in Portland and Seattle, at their, they're really nice hotels. And we brought our dogs there, and they were welcome every time and treated. I mean, these people go out of, it's unbelievable what they do. If you arrange a stay and tell them that your dog is coming. There's a chalkboard in the lobby on your way to the elevators that welcomes every dog that's staying there by name. It says welcome, and then your dog's name is written on the chalkboard. And then you get to your room, and there's like a care package for your dog with like treats and food, water dishes, dog fancy magazine. I'm just saying, like, they treat people really well. It's awesome.
And I think that comes down to the culture behind the organization, don't you? Like, the culture behind that company is the dog friendly culture. Like, that's part of their whole, from what it sounds like, part of their whole shtick is bring your dogs here. Everyone's welcome. This is kind of a sanctuary when you're on the road in the Pacific Northwest to come with your animals. So, which again, that's what I'm saying. Like, this can be, and I'll put all your links in the description of all the stuff we're doing, iTunes, YouTube, in the comments here, in the official posts that go up on the page. All the links, we'll put the links in there. Just send them to me. I'll put them in there. And
Got it.
I just want you guys to be, because I don't really have a source for people that are looking for somewhere to go for rescues or for, good shelters to donate to. Even if you're not looking for a pet and you just want to donate something.
Sure.
I don't have a source right now. So I think it'll be good for my audience to be able to say, all right, well, now we have a source. If you guys want to donate something, you can go to Dwight's website page, get in contact. I'm sure the last 3 weeks I've been seeing nothing but shares from you guys from rescue organizations or people that have adopted pets that are wearing the original Bully stuff with their new adopted pet. Like, it's all positive stuff. And, Bull-N-A-China Shop TV, especially Bull-N-A-China Shop podcast, I've done BSL podcasts already. We actually helped get a big petition in Montreal signed to shut down one of the BSL laws up there. So it's just another way for me to get involved of the non-breeder side of shit, because I want everybody to watch. First of all, I want everybody to watch the channel, obviously, but not only watch, but be able to get something to help them out of the shit, not just a bunch of live videos where I'm staring at myself ranting about other people I can't be.
Sure.
I would like to actually help these people that are watching the channel.
As far as the suggestion, like, I could honestly say, like, you can donate to some of these organizations, but personally, I feel like, honestly, the easiest thing and best thing that you can do as a breeder, just as a breeder, you don't even have to tell anyone you're a breeder or anything like that. Just go and volunteer at a local rescue or shelter. Just go and volunteer, even if it's like an hour a week or something like that. Just go check it out. It's uncomfortable sometimes, and that's the truth of it. But it's something that I think anyone that's a breeder, at the very least, even if you're a positive impact on a dog that's there for one day, it's worth it. Or maybe you walk into a situation where you're like, oh my God, this shelter is terrible. They just need to, they need to change this or they need to change that. Just you helping them, like, even with their layout or workflow or logistics or whatever, even if you could just make a suggestion, because maybe you set up kennels in a really awesome layout, and maybe a way to set something up so that there's no fence fighting or whatever. Maybe you can contribute anything. Just go volunteer. You're not required to, and I think that's the greatest part, is that you just go do it for yourself, and I think that you'll actually get something out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Anytime you're doing something like that, especially voluntarily, you're gonna feel good about yourself. But not only that, you're gonna get a behind the scenes look at the impact that you could potentially have on this whole dog game that we're talking about. You get to see behind the scenes litters coming in, pregnant moms coming in that were dumped or left or, abandoned. You get to see potentially what your impact could be if you start doing shit the wrong way, or even let something slide for a little bit. You can see that impact, and maybe it'll make you think about things a different way. Do some extra screening on your potential clients, ask a couple extra questions, and my biggest thing. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Or you could take a picture. You could take a picture of a mom that came in with puppies, or a pregnant mom, and be like, "Yeah, who did this? Don't be this asshole. How about that?"
Yeah, and if we have, because you know, if people that aren't breeding dogs are saying that, don't be this asshole, we're all like, fuck yourself. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But if somebody that's in this with
Yep.
us, breeding dogs and having litters, takes pictures like that and says, hey, we got to do better, man. We got to be better.
Yep.
I feel like that's going to have a much bigger impact on people that are hearing it, especially dog breeders.
No, it's like I said before, it's going to take people self-policing itself. The community, either people that are going to lead, the mentors, the people that are going to stand up, the people that really want to make the change, the people that want to make the breed more legitimate. You're going to have to start doing something to really make your breed worth something. Like, that's really what it's going to come down to, because it's like the stock market, or like all this cryptocurrency, right? That's one thing new for Original Bully. We're accepting cryptocurrency now, because we also believe in the social implications that cryptocurrency can have on the economy. But it's one of these things that give it value. If you don't value what you're competing against, or if you don't police yourself and you don't limit you know what I mean? Like, if you don't have your own quality assurance or quality control over what you're allowing to go into the ring, you're not doing yourself any favors. You're actually doing yourself a disfavor, and you're devaluing all your stock. That's all you're doing. So don't do it.
Dwight, I love you, man. I love your face. It's good to see you. I wish I could have made it out there last weekend. We had some
live one.
Yeah, we had some negative 20-degree weather out here, and you know, water and that kind of temperature really don't mix. Just life in Kansas, you know what I'm saying? But next time I get out there, we'll definitely get together, have a beer, sit down, do a live podcast, just talk some shit. I don't think I've since that Oregon show, when you guys had the big setup in the back there. That's the last time I've actually seen you guys, so it'd be good to get up and hang out. I can't thank you enough for coming on the show, man. It's definitely a different perspective than what most people get on here, you know. So I appreciate you coming on, dude.
Thanks for having me.
OGBully.com, Original Bully on Facebook.
Got it.
Dwight, I appreciate you, sir.
Thank you, sir.